今、黄金のマスクがよみがえる。パーソナルワークステーション X68000。
Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Episode. Here we're continuing the series on the Sharp X68000, my favorite games to play, and if you can't tell already, we're playing Phalanx today, which is most famously known for its North American Super Nintendo box art of a hillbilly playing a banjo with a UFO zooming above him. It is so much more than that, and in this little introductory scene right here, the parallax scrolling in this game in and of itself is worth the price of entry. It's an amazing shmup, I absolutely love it. On the Sharp X68000, it's the best version, and there are no hillbillies required. Before we get too far involved, it'd be a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell, definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But Phalanx is an awesome horizontal shmup with some really intriguing and innovative gameplay mechanics that you didn't often see when you played a shmup back in the day. This was released in 1991 and developed by Zoom Inc., which made a lot of games for the Sharp X68000. This is definitely a hard shmup, but it's a fair one, and it has some of the best parallax scrolling I think on the entirety of the Sharp X68000. And considering that the Super Nintendo couldn't quite keep up with all the hardware power of the Sharp computer, it definitely looks better here, plays better here, and it's just an overall more fun time, minus the fact that you do lose that hillbilly. And I absolutely love shmups, and the Sharp X68000 is definitely not starved for them, but this one just has everything I want out of it. Like I said though, it is a very difficult game. This is going to kill you time and time again. You're definitely going to have to learn all of the patterns, all of the boss weak points, and deal with all of that if you're actually going to see the end credits. You get 3 continues, and you can use a specific floppy disk that allows you to have more lives per continue than you normally would. Normally you're limited to 3, on this disk you get 9, and you're going to need all 9 of those lives. If you take a look at the bottom left hand corner, you're going to see that there's 3 bars there in orange. You can take 3 hits before you die, and when you die you do continue right where you left off, which is definitely a nice quality of life improvement over some older shmups where you get kicked back without any of your power-ups and have to fight back through the area. There's a dip down under the clouds here into this very polluted cyberpunk city that kind of reminds me of Gary, Indiana. No offense if you're from there, it kind of just looks like this. This is just another spectacular view at what this game has to offer. The backgrounds, the environments, the overall vibe of this game are second to none on the platform in my opinion. I just love everything this game does visually, and it marries it together with an absolutely 10 out of 10 shmup in my opinion. And it's a little bit of a bummer that this game isn't more well remembered outside of having that weird North American Super Nintendo box art, because it is very challenging, very unique, and overall extremely pretty the entire time you're playing the game. And you can add to that some really epic boss battles. This boss right here has multiple weak spots, and you need to destroy both arms before you can defeat him. And those sprites rotating left and right on those arms just look so good on the X68000 hardware. And that's why I love the boss battles in this game so much. They're little mini puzzles. You need to be able to figure out where the weak spots are and hit them and destroy pieces off each boss before you can really end up killing them. It's a tiny bit of a puzzle, but it really does work, and it gives you something better than just unloading bullets onto the boss at the same time. And this is definitely not a bullet hell shmup, and you're not going to get any geometric patterns here. Pretty much every bullet's going to come wherever it wants to, and it's going to basically just be up to you to navigate around. But the other reason I love this game is just how diverse and varied the stages really are, and I am jumping around here into a completely different stage further into the game. This stage's entire theme is neon advertising in space, so much so that the level intro tells you that much, and I'm sure maybe in 10 or 15 years you're going to look at the night sky and probably see some neon signs up there when a company finally figures out how to put a bigger logo in the atmosphere that we all have to stare at. All jokes aside, this is why I really do love this game. It is so diverse and varied. Every single stage has its own theme. Every single stage is going to have its own unique gameplay element to it. Every single time you change levels, you feel refreshed. Because as much as I love shmups, I will admit that sometimes by the end of a particular game, I might be a tiny bit bored because I feel like I've seen the same thing over and over again. Phalanx has nothing like that here whatsoever. The mood, the atmosphere, the colors, the gameplay mechanics are going to be so varied, and there are a ton of stages in this game as well. This is not a short game, and it's going to test you to see the credits, but it also has a really unique and a really good, in my opinion, soundtrack, so go ahead and listen for 45 seconds or so, and I'll come back and show you a lot more fun levels. The soundtrack, the sound effects, and that digitized voice all just marry together to make something extra special. As we move on to another stage, this game can definitely trip you up, but look at the parallax on that atmosphere. It looks absolutely beautiful all over the color as well as the scrolling in and of itself. And what you don't realize when you start this stage is you're actually scrolling it as you move your ship. There's just gigantic space armada in the air that you fly around, that it has been corrupted by some sort of alien organic matter. That is a big theme in the game, this machine corruption with organic parts. And you will find that there's different doors that you could open up, and as you fly in and go through what I can only imagine is the ship's back door right here, there's different areas that you can actually access with inside of the ship, almost like going into another level. I can't think of any other shmup that does this, but if you can, leave me a comment down below and tell me, because I would be curious. And that's the fun thing, this really isn't a shmup level, it's actually a free roaming level within a shmup. And as we fly down here and open up another one of the ship's back doors, you can actually fly straight through the back door, pun very much intended, and get into the ship to go into different levels. Sometimes taking a death is actually a really good way to progress quicker, because we can move on here. The timing on getting through that hole though is very important. And now we're inside of the ship in and of itself. It is such a wild concept, but it just works. Phalanx is always showing you something new, something unique, something different, and always surprising you at what comes next. But again, I just can't get over how good this game looks on the X68000. You have so many layers of parallax scrolling here, it almost looks like it's actually in 3D. The illusion is done so well, and you have all of these different aliens coming through what look like spore holes in the ceiling. It's creepy, it's kind of gross, and it just works in context of the game. And that is why I love this game so much. It's so visually interesting, it's got such a great soundtrack, and it's got such good gameplay mechanics all put together in one package. It's probably my favorite shmup on the X68000, and it's definitely better than the Super Nintendo version. As we get into another boss here, they are very fun and very unique, and like I said, each one is its own puzzle to solve. This reminds me a lot of Darius Gaiden. It's definitely got a fish theme here, but that fish is half a machine and half what looks like rotary gills. It's a weird sentence to say, but that's just what I see when I see it, and part of that can just completely break off from the main fish, and you need to navigate around. Screen space placement, how you move your ship, and how you kind of avoid enemies is very unique and very important in this game. You always want to be on your toes to make sure that you have enough real estate above, below, behind, and in front of you so that you can avoid damage when things start to happen. And it also has an absolutely epic intro screen, so much so that it comes on its own disc on the Sharp X68000. It's got some great 16-bit art, some really good music, some really good vignettes here, and some awesome motion. This game sets a tone. It has a mood. It shows you exactly what it's going to be giving you the minute you turn on the X68000, and it just basically forces that down your throat the entire time. It's going to make you have such a vibe, such an experience. It's going to make you see some really fun and weird and strange things, and you're going to have fun the entire time you're playing the game. And I'm going to give you one more sample of the soundtrack before this gets even weirder as far as the game is concerned, because this next track is definitely one of my favorites in the game, so go ahead and listen for 30 seconds and I'll be back with more Phalanx. Such good music, and if you haven't noticed already, there's these gigantic space organic worms just coming towards us, and there's giant worm balls, exploding worm trucks, and this what seems to be a giant mechanical worm snake. It's a very wormy level in here, and you're just going to have to deal with it. But again, this game just feels so special. I know it's mostly remembered for having ridiculous box art on the Super Nintendo, so maybe you've never actually checked the game out outside of knowing that the box art is strange, but I can guarantee you if you even remotely enjoy shmups and you give this game a try, I think you're absolutely going to fall in love with it. It is such a unique title in the world of shmups. Of course, you're going to hear stuff like, you know, R-Type for the Sharp X68000, Parodius, some of the Twin B games, but I don't really hear as many people mention this one, and I think that's just an absolute absolute travesty. This is a special game. It might not be one of the best shmups ever made, but it's got a ton of style, it's got a ton of flair, it's got really good gameplay, and it's got an awesome soundtrack. There really isn't anything about this game that particularly upsets me or makes me not love it, except for the fact that I wish I was just a little bit better at it. I've never actually seen the game's end credits on an exact amount of continues. I do have to use that level select via the special disc. But that is Phalanx. It's such a unique and interesting game, but unfortunately is remembered for all the wrong reasons, hillbilly related of course. If you've never played this before, definitely check it out, and if you have played it, leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think. I would be very curious. But I'll be back next week with more X68000. I'll have videos throughout the week, but I'm going to go grab my banjo and play some music. Bye bye!